Hey, BassGeek here, and today I'm actually going to show you how I use my graphs in the winter. Alright guys, so right off the bat, let me tell you, as you can see behind me, that's about what most of my lakes look like. We draw down during the winter time where I'm from. Pretty much every single lake does it. Now, as you can tell, there's not a lot on the banks that I fish. So we focus more on structure than we do cover. So for me, you know, there's no grass in this lake or 90% of the lakes that I fish. So for me, we're looking for a lot of things, and we're really keen on bait fish. Now this is a primarily a, you know, predominantly smallmouth lake. There's some big largemouth in here, but I'll show you right now, just give you a quick sort of what's up. That is shad on the bottom. That is a bass on top. Shad on the bottom. There you can see there's some bass on top of it, maybe some below it. So what I want to do is I want to show you the settings. We're not going to go through every setting. We're not going to go through trimming down things. This is just going to be the settings that I use when I'm out here looking for those deep fish during the winter time. So the very first thing that I'm going to show you, I've got two units. This is a Helix 9 Gen 1. This is a Helix 10 SI. Both of these are SI. This is a Gen 2 Mega. So I do hope to upgrade this year. I had some really good conversations with the Humminbird Graphs, but that's all for the future. So let's talk about how I've got things set up. So I've got my map here. Now you'll have to forgive me. I just got my Lake Master maps in. We're going to skip the map part. We'll do that in a whole nother video. I'm just learning my Lake Master stuff. Look at that fish right there. And you've got some on the bottom. So what I want you to know is that with the new updates, this is basically nothing more than a monitor. I can actually look at my down imaging from this now. So this really does nothing than just share information from the Gen 2. So for us to go into the settings, what I have to do is go into the sonar here. Now I'll show you with the latest updates, we can hit menu here, and you'll notice there's no sonar because I'm pulling my sonar from the Gen 2 Mega. Like I said, that basically, you know, I know it still does some processing, but for the most part, it basically turns this into a monitor. So it's like having dual monitors. Now this, let's go down and look. I'm generally running medium and high frequency. And you'll notice right now, even on my down image, I'm running down and side image, and I'm running 455 on a Mega unit. And I'll explain that later. Got surface clutter set at a 3, 2D switch fire at max mode, water column sensitivity off, you know, fish ID off. I've got my RTS window off because I don't use it on this setup. Bottom view, structure ID, and of course we've got some helicopters coming in. Looks like some military helicopters there. Pretty cool. So we can see we've got bottom view for structure ID. Zoom width is at medium. Offset, we've got it set to 0 right now. Depth lines are on. SI depth lines are on. Frequency label on. Noise filter, we've got it set at a 1. Sometimes I'll just turn that completely off. I'm not a big noise filter person. Max depth auto, water type fresh. There's my transducer. normal SI orientation, digital depth 2D element, color bar, it is on. You know, that just basically tells you, you know, which is a hard return and which is a soft return if you don't know. Temperature graph, that means it'll tell us what the surface and the bottom temperature it thinks is. Of course, we're not ice fishing. So that's the simple rundown right there of what my sonar is. So let's jump back over here and let's look at what I actually have set up when it comes to the sonar. So you can see I've got my split position 50-50. You know, I'm using map. I could cut that down some. Sensitivity I've got just above 11, and I am running clear mode on this. Contrast, you know, is set dead center. I mean, that's almost what the factory defaults come as. Upper range 0, you can adjust that down so it'll adjust the depth. Lower range is automatic. Jigging mode right now is off. Chart speed I run at a 5 up here because generally I'm running at about 4 to 5 miles per hour when I'm graphing. I go with the number 1 or the number 5 just because the green separates the fish a little better on the bottom. 90% of the time I come from Lowrance, so I'm gonna run that sort of old school default Lowrance. That's just what I'm used to. And we're gonna fire up the boat and I'm going to show you a couple of things and a couple of adjustments that I may do on the fly. So you can see the frequencies I'm running, which basically is the 80 and 200. It's just on chirp. Chirp is like taking a wide paintbrush. You're gonna get a lot better separation with your fish. Now see, these could be fish down here on the bottom. That's definitely one right there. Here we go. We're coming up on some there. There's some fish right there. So we can go ahead and show you. There's what fish are going to look like. And we can double that up. They're pushing shad to the bottom here. 75 foot of water. Got a little bit of brush down there. So now I know when it comes to my sonar, my 2D, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't touch it. You can see shad here. I pretty much leave it be. There you can see, even on side imaging, we've got a bunch of fish right there that are chasing those shad on the bottom. You can see them here. We're in a nice little creek channel down through here. You know, 83 feet is what we're looking at. I like to have both of them on so that I can tell what's going on. Now, I'll show you something else real quick. That's fish down in the bait fish, down in there feeding. Now you'll notice, generally I'm running, you know, 455, 400 frequency right there pretty much all the time. Now on this, you can see I'm so deep that it's not showing. So here, let's go over the side view setting. We're gonna have to crank it up, you know, 140 feet right there. You know, we can go even farther. That's gonna show us a lot. And you gotta remember, one of the things that you have to remember about frequency, on 2D, the smaller the frequency, so like 80, it's going to have a wider cone when it gets to the bottom. The 200 is going to have a narrower cone, okay? Now, on side imaging and down imaging, you've got to think about it more like a flashlight in a dark room, pitch black room. You're shining it. Each frequency is a stronger or dimmer flashlight. The smaller frequencies are stronger beams of light. So the 400, the 455, strongest beam of light. The 800, medium beam of light. And the Mega, it's really made for anything about 30 to 25 foot or less. Weakest beam of light. Okay, let's jump back in here and I'll show you these settings. So we ran that up to 180. Now you'll notice, just to tweak it out, what we're gonna do, that might be some fish, chasing bait fish right there. So what we'll do is, this is a little bit, we'll come down to SI enhanced. We'll give it a little bit, there we go, we're starting to blow out. I like it right on that edge most of the time. And then contrast, generally with me guys, what I like is contrast 1 to 2 below when I'm looking at structure. Now easily what we could do, so we could hit our check mark right here and go up to our 800 frequency. Okay, now you'll see an automatic change. A lot of times that's what I run. We can see a fish right here on the down imaging. If you guys, there we go, see that. So you'll see it gets dimmer. So a lot of times during the winter time, because of all this and the way this is, I'm not looking for structure, I'm actually looking for fish. So a lot of times what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that 455 because it's going to make fish pop. It's going to make them really show up. So to change this one, we'd go in the menu, we'd go in the enhance, and probably run it up to about 18, which is about as max as you can get. We might even, oops, we might even back that sharpness down just a little bit on that so we can get more. There you can see a nice ditch, a creek channel, see some shad over here. But that's generally what I'm going to do. If I'm out here in, you know, 96 foot of water though, most of the time I'm going to be running that 400. It's just going to show up better. Now let's talk about our down imaging. Now again guys, you know, you can see what we've got here, and in the winter time I really do depend on my 2D more than I do in the summertime. And we can see all the fish around this ball school. They're pushing that bait down into this ditch. You can see them right here. And what we'll do is we'll cut the sensitivity up just a little bit. You can see all these fish around here. They're pushing that bait to the bottom of this pocket, the old creek channel. And now let's go ahead and go in to those settings. DI enhance, you can see I'm up to 14 and my contrast is on a 12. I'll kind of show you what my contrast will do. You know, it'll kind of blow it out a little bit. There we go, that's about where I like it, down on 13. Wouldn't really cut this up, but again, most of the time about two notches below where I'm at is where I'm going to run my contrast. I keep my sharpness off, and I mean, that's really how I set my graph up. Now you can see another ditch right here. That's a drainage ditch coming up. You can see we're starting to get a little shallow now. It's starting to blow out over here. So all we have to do is come over and cut that down just a touch. You can see some fish back here. We've got some fish on a hump here. You can see them hanging right around that ditch. There's maybe another one up there. Right there. Bright lines. Here's what some of them look like. That's what they look like on the bottom there. Suspended up. So now we found our fish. We found them back there. Now how does this translate to the bow? So I'm going to show you exactly what I do when I find these fish. And this is where I'm fishing Damiki. I've been fishing vertical all day. Honestly, with no avail. I've had bites, but I'm just not getting them completely taking it. Changing colors, the whole 9 yards. All right, so we just found some fish right here. I don't know if you can see those. I'll try to get you in close. There they are. So here's what we're gonna do. The very first thing I do, of course, I cut you know, the big motor off. Maybe it goes off. You can also see we've got them down here on the bottom. So we got a nice little group of fish here. The very next thing I do, just touch my power button, turn my sonar off on both units. Go ahead and drop my trolling motor. Here's my Lose Mock Crush, my custom speed stick. This is a drop shot, but it's perfect for dropping on fish. Now, let's talk about my settings. Okay, we're in 48 feet of water. Let's go menu. Here's our sonar. Almost the exact same mode. I've got clear mode on. Sometimes I'll come down here and cut that off if I really want, you know, everything to pop. Most of the time, however, you can see everything's almost identical to the console. Most of the time, however, here we have some fish. Let's go ahead and drop it down. The only thing is I turn my RTS window on. Now you can see my bait coming right here. Here's the bass. I'm gonna let that get right down there to them, and then we're gonna set it still. That's my bait. That's the fish. We'll see if there's any takers. We'll lightly shake it. But you can see, I can see my bait extremely well. For whatever reason, sometimes the RTS doesn't pick it up, but you can see it moving right there. Now you can see a couple of fish really good right there, coming up off the bottom. I'm coming down to them. Let's see if we can get them to react. And that's kind of been the day, guys. It's not really been able to get these fish to react too much today for whatever reason. So anyway, like I said, let's go through the menu settings one more time. Basically with the menu settings, I mean, you can see it's all pretty much exactly what I have up there. Now I do slow the chart speed down just a touch, but I do like it being as fast as possible so I get a real-time view. Now, if we hit menu again, you'll see the only real difference is that we turn on the RTS and put it in full color. All right, so that's my winter settings. If you've noticed or you've watched my videos in the past, you've seen that I actually do a lot more. I use my Mega more when I'm fishing during the summertime, because a lot of times the bass are going to pull up a little bit shallower during the summer, during the spring, and you're going to be able to separate those fish from that cover that they're going to be in. But during the winter time, I mean, you can see, I mean, there's not a lot of cover in this lake. So when they're down deep, you can see we've basically got a ditch in this pocket, and they're pushing those shad down in the center of this creek channel or this ditch, and they're feeding from above. Now, all that being said, if you guys got any questions down there, make sure you ask them. Now on the front, all I have on the front is a Gen 2 Helix 10 GPS sonar. That's all it is. It is a chirp, and they are all networked together so I can share my waypoints. The map on the front, I'm using an old Navy Onyx map card. So all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoy this. I hope this helps you out. Like I said, I keep everything on that 455 90% of the time because I don't need to separate it from the bottom. I need to find the fish. And in deeper water, that 455 is really going to make those fish stand out. Anyway, as always, questions and comments in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave some comments down there. Ask all your questions down there. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell to get the notifications when these videos come out. And you guys rock.